VAATV, Vietnamese American Arizona Television.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to VAATV.com, the real estate show. We all want to make some profit for our investment. And so Scott Bartlowe from Fowler Real Estate.
S.J. Fowler Investment Real Estate.
And he will, beginning of the year. I mean, like, I just like everything blank in my mind. I'm sorry. So Scott Bartlowe will be here like regular every Thursday around this time to share with us all the information about investment, about real estate investment. And there's a lot of things going on about investment because it's a large topic and it's a large thing to understand and to get some knowledge about it. Thank you so much for coming at this cold season, Scott. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Okay. I think last time I was on, you and I were both sick, and I think I've kind of gotten over it. But
yeah, we are still.
You're still a little bit sick. I'm sorry to hear that.
I know, like yesterday I was sharing with everyone about the New Year resolution. Usually we think of what happened in the past. Last year, and then we was planning for the beginning of the year that what we're going to do. A lot of things in our life. Of course, we want to make some profit. We want to make some extra income, with the money of the saving. And if we don't have enough knowledge, if maybe some way when we make an investment, it's a wrong kind of investment. So I would like to know that if you can share with us some information how to avoid the mistake of those investments.
Absolutely. And you hit on it. Now that we're in the first of the year, a lot of people have resolutions. And it's not uncommon, at least in my business, to see an uptick of investors, people who maybe they've been putting it off for a while and now it's the first of the year. So now their New Year's resolution is to get involved in real estate investing. Probably the biggest thing that I see that people do, and it just goes back to your resolutions. People make resolutions, but they don't follow through on them.
Exactly.
So the first step is to go ahead and make up your mind that if you've got the wherewithal to invest, go ahead and do the groundwork now. Do the things you need to do to become an investor. One of the worst things is sitting on the sidelines and going, gosh, I wish I had bought that property.
There you go. What if?
Yeah, what ifs. The next thing is, of course, being an investor, you have to be self-motivated. There are a lot of people out there who are naysayers, and they'll say, oh, you can't do that, or you got to have millions to get involved in it. And we know better than that. There's a lot of people that are self-made millionaires because of the things that they've done with their investment real estate.
Right.
So don't listen to all those naysayers.
Right.
The next thing is you really have to decide that you're going to get some type of training. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There are financial things that you have to be able to understand.
Right.
You have to be able to evaluate a property, and you have to be able to evaluate your finances. You have to be able to understand what kind of money that property is going to make for you. So there are some things that you have to get training for so that you can learn how to evaluate a property. And once you understand those different aspects, there are questions that will naturally come up. That's where having a great mentor can help you out and help you avoid some of the pitfalls. It's a case of sometimes you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So another aspect, and we're not going to get into it a whole lot right now at this moment, is taxes on properties are sometimes overlooked. And the taxes can come in many forms. It can come as an expense if you have property everybody's going to have property tax on something they buy, but you can have taxes that you have to pay off your rental income. You can have taxes when you sell it. You can have depreciation, which affects your taxes. So there's a whole variety of tax aspects. I'm not going to get into them right now. We'll do it at a later time.
Right.
But for the most part, it is something that you have to make a consideration when you're looking at a property. Another one is avoid making emotional decisions. There's an old phrase in there, don't fall in love with the property. As I went back and I was talking about, go ahead and get the training, you need to be able to do it and evaluate the properties logically. Don't let your emotions drive you. Just because it's a nice, pretty building, it may have all kinds of issues with it. It may have bad tenants. It may have things that cost you more money and you never recoup your money. Another thing is managing tasks poorly. When you have rental properties, there are things that come up from time to time. There are changes in the law. There are new requirements that some of the utility companies have, and we should all expect to see changes going on in the future with both laws as well as our own service providers. Another aspect that's very important that you have to manage properly is selecting tenants.
Yes.
A poor tenant will kill you.
Exactly.
It'll run you out of business because if you recall, you're buying it as an investment. You're trying to develop income and raise capital from the flow of the life of that property. A bad tenant will steal that from you. With late rents, damage to the property itself, sometimes no rent, sometimes they just move out. But all of those different types of things have legal aspects on you as a property owner, and you have to understand why it's good to select a great tenant from the start. Guaranteed. If you do your selection process, you can go through without late payments. They'll pay on time. They'll be a great tenant. They'll take care of the property themselves, just as if they owned it. So those are the types of tenants that you want, and so you want to avoid that type of a problem. The other thing is, we're in a business where our prices are not necessarily set. In other words, the market actually determines what something sells for. And by saying that the market determines it when it sells, what I mean is that you can put a price on it here, but you may have buyers who are only willing to pay down here. Now, at certain times, of course, we've had multiple buyers who are willing to pay above the price of the property. But that's the market speaking. The biggest problem that I see with folks is they negotiate back and forth too many times. And I know that there are certain cultures out there where negotiating is part of that culture. But nevertheless, bargaining, call it what you will. But my suggestion to you is do not overly negotiate. Look for things where you can put together a working agreement where everybody wins. If the price is right, then you look at terms and conditions. How quickly can you close? Or how much is the lease term going to be? But those types of things. It may not be with your first offering out there, it may not be the perfect solution, but if you try to work together to come to a resolution, generally speaking, you can find a way where you can have a negotiated settlement, but not have it drag on and on where everybody is dissatisfied with the other party. Another aspect of it that I see is wanting to do too many things yourself. And it can come from a variety of different ways. Sometimes maybe you don't have the expertise yet to go ahead and be able to evaluate the property. There's nothing wrong with getting somebody that's got the expertise, a mentor. You can use a realtor, but there are ways where you can properly evaluate the property. And remember what I said before, you want to take the emotion out of it. You want to do it so that you're making a logical decision as opposed to a sentimental decision. Another aspect of it where you can get caught is trying to do repairs yourself. Here in the state of Arizona, I recommend that any time that a repair be done, you use a licensed contractor. The reason you want to use a licensed contractor is they have a skill level that's above a handyman. handyman has no authorization, nobody that's watching to see what type of work they do. But a skilled craftsman or tradesman, especially when it comes to HVAC, when it comes to electrical, when it comes to plumbing, lighting, anything that is a mechanical type of system in your property, you really want to have a licensed contractor take care of it. The other thing, of course, that you want to have a licensed contractor take care of is the roof, because the roof keeps your property nice and tight and dry. Water is probably one of your worst enemies when it comes to your property. So make sure you use a licensed contractor. It's typically a little bit more, but one of the advantages of it is when they do their work, that work has to be warranted for up to a year. And that's part of what the register
They might well train about it too. And
Yes.
they know the root of it instead of just cut top, from the...
They cut, they don't cut corners. They go ahead and they come up with trying to find the actual solutions for you.
So I think like you mentioned all those really a common mistake for the investor. Like whoever. Sometimes we call the name investor kind of like a big wow. We investor, but if we buy even a piece of little property or condo or anything, we're still an investor. Right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And if my description of what's an investment property is any type of real estate other than your primary home. If you're living in that home and you own it in your name, that's not an investment property. That's your primary home, and the IRS is going to look at it that way. If you go out and you buy a little 10 by 10 foot piece of land on the corner of a major set of streets, that's an investment property. Even if it costs you $25, it's still an investment property.
Right.
And so you need to understand how all of that works together, where your money's going, and understand that there's tax ramifications for it. Another one that I like to suggest to people is this. Do not take shortcuts on your due diligence. Do all of your inspections. Review any of the title paperwork that comes out. If you're buying a home in an HOA, look at the HOA documents. Look at the CC&Rs. Last thing you want to do is buy a property, and this has happened, buy a property thinking you're going to use it as a rental only to find out that the CC&Rs do not allow it, or that you have to provide the HOA a copy of the lease, and they get a chance to approve it. So those are the types of things that you need to know ahead of time before you actually go ahead and you invest in that property.
Yeah, I mean, like with the property that have HOA, we have to be very, very careful.
Exactly right.
Yeah, besides paying extra money every month.
That's correct.
Yeah.
While we're talking about HOAs, remember the HOA is not a government entity. It's only an association that was set up by the developer to help care and maintain property values for that neighborhood. Now, sometimes you'll have things like swimming pools and playgrounds and those types of things, and the HOA plays its part, of course, in maintaining those. But ultimately, the whole idea of the HOA was to keep those property values up. Now, if there's a violation of the law, that's where the cities or the state can come in and take action. But the city and the state will not take any action on HOA rules. So, for example, I know recently here in the city of Queen Creek, they changed some of their requirements, and now they're allowing vacation rentals under certain circumstances. But you may have a home in an HOA, and they don't allow rentals that are shorter in duration than 30 days. So if your business model was to open up a VRBO or some type of vacation rental, and you got in there, you would suddenly be without the plan that you had, thinking you were going to be able to use that property.
So is the CC&R and the bylaw, when they first start the association build up, and then they got that recorded, can they change it
Yes.
during the term?
Yeah.
And how can they notify to other people there?
They can make changes to the CC&Rs, and it's based off.
And they have to re-record it again?
Yes, they have to record any amendments.
I see.
And I've seen that happen several times. I've seen some CC&Rs.
So if the CC&R record with the amendment, then that's considered, right?
That's
what
exactly
if they,
right.
yeah, because let's say the one of the person living there didn't even know, and then they all of a sudden they say, okay, I have the change of the CC&R with this, but that didn't even record it, the amendment. So would that accept it? Confirm?
Probably not. I mean, there may be some legal ramifications to it, and it might be something where an attorney would have to take a look at.
Right.
But here's my experience in CC&Rs. I know we refer to it as it's a shortcut. It stands for covenants, conditions, and restrictions.
Yeah.
And the CC&Rs is actually a legal document that's set up by the developer or by the master property owner before it's subdivision is subdivided, but it has specific rules in there. For example, it could say what size lots is a minimum size, what size home is a minimum size, what kind of
Color
trucks.
of the,
You can park a truck in front of your house. You got to paint it with these colors. So I mean, and it varies. Some of them are very simple. I've seen them where they were as simple as 2 or 3 pages long, and it just said that the lots could not be broken down any smaller than 1.25 acres.
Oh,
and
it cannot change like from manual lock into electric. Like a punching lock. Yeah, like some of they won't allow.
Well, and then you're right. Some of the subdivisions won't allow it. So when they make their initial filing with the covenants, conditions, and restrictions, that document gets recorded. That is a legal instrument. And then when you're buying the property, the title company will get a copy of that. They'll either get what's a recorded document, or they'll get the new rules that come from whoever the HOA is. The HOA will have certain things that they offer as well.
Oh, so you say like the recorded document is CC&R, but there's another rule, separate rule?
Well, what it is, the CC&Rs is a legal document. It's typically written by attorneys.
Right.
Sometimes the HOAs will produce a document that's easier to read.
I see.
Or if they've got,
but the content the same.
Yes, has to be same. They can't be in violation. Say they got a swimming pool or a golf course,
right?
And that's noted in the CC&Rs. The actual operation of the golf course may be a day-to-day operation that the HOA oversees.
I see. Wow. Yeah.
So you've got to look at all of those different types of documents.
Wow.
So that's one of those things. Like I said, do not take shortcuts on your due diligence. Another aspect is not buying in your backyard. And the reason I say this is you should be in a position where from time to time, maybe you don't take care of the daily management of your property, but at least be able to drive by within a day or so every week. And the idea being, you're keeping an eye on it. You're able to see what changes are on there. I had some clients who purchased a set of properties in Phoenix a number of years ago. And at the time, those properties were brand new. They never came over. I should also say they were out-of-state owners. They never came back to Arizona in that 15 years to look at the properties. And so when they asked me to sell the properties, and I took some of the first pictures that they had seen, they were in a state of shock at how poorly it would have been managed.
Because like maybe like they should revisit, or like maintain it or something.
Yeah,
right?
but just
ask management company take over.
Yep. But even if you have a management company, you've heard me say before, nobody cares about your money as much as you do. So you need to learn how to protect your money. And one of the ways of doing it is simply to go out and take a look at your property from time to time. And if it's too far away, I see some great deals all the time that come across the internet from other commercial brokers. But if it's something in Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to buy in Tennessee. I don't know the market.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I see a lot of people invest far away, because cheap, like good price. Like if the place where they stay, we're talking about 300,000-400,000, but the place they bought is like less than that, less than $100,000.
Right.
So that's why they invest though.
Well, I always
but
have
that
to.
may be something we have to consider, because what if something happened and you lose your less than 100,000?
Well, that's it.
Even
It still hurts to lose an
Yeah.
investment.
Yeah.
One of the things I have to laugh about is with digital cameras anymore, they can touch pictures up so easily.
Oh yes.
So what you see
It's not what you get.
is not necessarily what it
you
really
get.
looks like. So you need to get your eyes on the property.
That's true. Like sometimes I look at the picture of the place. Oh, beautiful, everything. But yeah, in reality, no. Yeah, birds like all over die, and oh my God, it's terrible.
Yep. No, so
Yes.
you need to verify it with your own eyes. That's part of going back and doing your due diligence. But if you're too far away, that's going to discourage you from going to look.
Right.
So you want to be as close to where you live so
yeah,
that you can
invest.
manage your properties.
Right. Right.
The next thing is not knowing your objectives before you go out to take a look at properties. And I constantly go through this with new investors. In fact, I've got a couple of folks that I've just sent properties to. But I typically have about a 30-minute conversation with them. And one of the things that I ask them is, what are your goals? Are you looking for a single family? Are you looking for multifamily? Are you looking for a commercial property? Are you going to use it? Are you going to live in one of the units? Because as housing has gotten more expensive, what I've seen here in the last year or so is people who will come in and they will rent one of the apartments on a fourplex or a multiple unit building. And, of course, the great thing there is their mortgage, they're living there, and their mortgage is being paid down also by a tenant.
Yeah.
And at the same time, they're keeping an eye on their property.
Right. Yes. I mean, that's really a thinking, but if depend on the area, that's why if they invest on that, right? Yeah.
It's a great strategy for somebody that's first starting off.
Yes.
And, instead of buying a first home, buy a duplex or a fourplex.
Yeah. Right.
And then let your tenants help pay it down.
Right.
But the idea is knowing what you want to do. Why are you buying the property? Are you buying it just because it looks like it's a good price? But what may be a good price in the long run is not a bargain at all. It may be a money pit. It could be that it's a property in an area where there's declining values.
Never increase. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, just imagine some of those towns in West Virginia where they had coal mines.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah.
The homes there you can get for a song, but who's gonna rent them? Who wants them?
That's why we say, oh, this is big house, really nice, but it's like only 100,000, so cheap. Like we're talking about million to 100,000. And so a lot of property I saw on the list on the whole United States. But you are right. Like who want to invest far? Like if we learn from the mistake. If it's from California, Arizona, it's okay. You can drive, you can fly 1 hour. It's okay. We're talking about from east to west or north to south.
Imagine trying to invest in Detroit or Chicago, where they've had
expensive there.
An exodus of folks coming out of Detroit. Detroit at one time was almost 1.9 million. Now I believe that the population in Detroit is under 700,000. Had you purchased a home there, think about what your values would be.
Yeah.
I mean, they're spending money to tear homes down because there were so many vacant homes.
Wow.
And I think you could probably buy a house for about $100 there.
Wow.
You might have to pay the back taxes on it, which could be several thousand. But at the end of the day, what are you going to be able to do with it? Is that a good investment even for $100?
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Somehow that you bring a very good point in a way. When you do an investment, it's not about the money that you put in, but it's really about what you're going to get back. Right?
Exactly right.
So like Las Vegas, so before is cheap, it's very cheap, and now it's start increasing because we have to look at, like you said, like market sensitivity. Somehow we buy the location where you think people are going to live. Are you going to live there? You know, are you going to be able to do business there, or are you going to have a lot of traffic? Something
Exactly
like that,
right.
So.
You know, the old real estate adage: location, location, location.
Yeah, that's
it remains the same, and it's the basis of every piece of property out there. If the property is in a low-lying, swampy area, maybe you've got 50, 60 acres, but you may not have even 500 square feet of buildable space out there. So how do you utilize that property? How do you use that as an investment? You know, perhaps it's great where you could use it as a catfish farm or something. But you have to look for where the value is going to come from. And if it doesn't fit, you really need to look at it, and not from an aspect of how much money it is, but what it's going to generate for you.
True.
So having your objectives and your ideas on how to evaluate a property ahead of time before you go out there is key, so that you don't get caught up in the moment of being emotional and thinking, hey, this could be a great deal or the price could affect it. No, you need to evaluate it. And as we've said before, and I'm going to keep harping on this, is do your due diligence, look at it logically, make sure you know ahead of time that it's going to make money. Another area where investors sometimes get caught is underestimating the cost of doing value add. Now, it's kind of typical where you'll see a lot of people that are flipping houses. What they'll do is they'll do a cursory inspection on the house. They'll go in, purchase it. They usually have a formula where they're going to put 10 to 15% of the home's value back into it to raise it up, and then put it back on the market and sell. And then their goal is to recoup about a 10 to 20% profit off the sale of that house. Well, suppose that you're buying a $400,000 house and you were going to put $35,000 or $40,000 into it. And you get in there and you realize it's got a cracked foundation. Didn't do your due diligence properly. Now that cracked foundation, you've got water lines that are breaking. So now you've got additional expenses. That $35,000 or $40,000 was going to go into new paint, new tile flooring, new appliances, new kitchen cabinets. Now it's going into keeping that building intact. So now you're repairing the foundation, you're repairing the plumbing. So those expenses, those additional expenses, may price that flipper out of that house. So by the time he's done, instead of putting $35,000 or $40,000 into it because he underestimated or didn't do his due diligence, he may be putting double that amount into. In which case, is he going to be able to get his profit back? He may not even get all of his money back.
Right. And then not like about during the contract or things, if something happened down the line.
Exactly right.
People didn't get a good deal with the group or something. Don't know.
And then the last thing that I would talk about that's kind of a mistake that I see some investors doing is make sure that you're getting the best loan product possible. All lenders are not created equal. There's a ton of different loans out there. If you need to talk to and interview your lender just like you would a tenant. Find out what they can offer, find out how it fits you best, and then apply it back to your plan, how you're evaluating the property. And I would even go so far as saying, if you know your lender well enough, now you're using their information to evaluate the property as well.
True. Yeah. That's why, like, sometimes when we purchase, we have enough cash to buy. But I would think, like, we can just borrow a little bit, right?
Exactly right.
Because we go through the lender. Because if lender, they don't want to lose their money. they have to find out if that property, if they land loan out, if something happened, will that make profit for them?
Right.
So that's why.
But it also gives you it gives you one of the advantages of real estate over other types of investment there.
Yeah.
Instead of just like a stock, if you were going to buy a share of Berkshire Hathaway stock, you'd have to pay the full amount for it. But you could buy a building and you could put 25 or 30% down and get a loan for the rest, and get another building, use some more of your cash. So it allows you leveraging so that you're controlling that property, and the profit at the end is not going to make any difference whether you just paid all cash or whether you only paid 30%. If there's 100%, or excuse me, if there was $100,000 of profit after 3 years, does it make any difference whether you financed it or whether you paid cash for it? You're still, the profit from that property is still $100,000. But if you've leveraged it, you may have another property where you're doing that $100,000 again.
Yeah.
So it gives you that opportunity where through multiple properties, you can have multiple streams of appreciation, multiple streams of income from the tenants. And then when you sell it, you've got multiple ways where you're going to make profit.
Yeah. So the important is like keep a good credit score so that we can borrow a lot of loan.
Yes.
Everybody.
Yep.
Yes. Because the higher score, the better interest rate you're going to get.
Absolutely. But, and when you get into certain types of properties as well, the lenders will look at that loan a little bit differently. One of the ways, of course, is, when you're buying a 2, 3, or 4 unit apartment building, you can get residential financing on it. So Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Veterans Administration loans, those types of things. Some of those loans may require you to live there. Some of those loans may, you may be able to pick up the property. A conventional loan, 2, 3, and 4 units, once again, just like purchasing a conventional home conventionally. So all those loans are pretty typical, and we're used to seeing them. When you get above that, when you go 5 units and larger, that's considered a commercial loan. No longer do you have the federal government entities like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac buying those loans back in bundles. Typically, the bank is an investor in in that loan, and so they'll hold their own paper in many cases.
Wow. Yep.
So understanding your loan situation is key.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, because like I know in Asian they like to not owning anything. They want a freeze of mind. So if they have money, they was thinking, if I can pay it off, I just pay it off, so I don't have to worry making payment every month. But that's their way before. But they don't even think like if they put less money, then they can buy 2, 3 different property, and they can still have enough money to pay for those.
That's correct.
Rental.
That's correct.
Yeah.
You will probably have to pay, or you'll have a certain portion you'll pay on your as a percentage for your down payment, and in many cases the lender may require that you have reserve funds as well, just to make sure that if something bad were to happen, that was unplanned, that you had a cushion, so it wasn't going to pull you.
We have to reserve.
Under.
Yeah, we have to do a lot of reserve.
Yes.
And then important is like to pick the right property. Just like go back to that. It's not we're talking about the luck and the knowledge. Like if you somehow the property good with you right at the time you purchase, and then after that it's turned sour. And then after something happened, you sold it, then it's turned very good. So we talk about luck and property.
Sometimes that does happen. Yes, indeed.
Yes, yeah. Yep. Like I know like in I have the thing to share like with a story we have in Bakersfield. We have a property there. At the time, I purchased very low price, like 100 something, and then after a year or so, then I got an offer. I said, "Oh, you want to sell it?" Because I moved out of the place at that time. I said, you want to sell it? I can offer 300,000. Okay, so right on there, I already make 200 right there.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, oh, maybe I wait for a few more years, so maybe it's come up and I can earn more.
Mm-hmm.
And then I waited, and then the following year it started dropping. It's dropping dramatically, and then things happen with the tenant there, and the management didn't do a very good job, so the tenant moved out and they couldn't get a new tenant, and even like we give them a lot of money to fix the place, but like we see the receipt, but the property, when we happen to drop by and check it, terrible, very bad. So I don't think nobody gonna pay for 300,000,
Mm-hmm.
right at the time there. So it's a bad decision, and then after things happen, there's a lot of homeless come in and all that sort of stuff. I just like give away, and then the price start jumping. So we're talking about luck.
Mm-hmm.
We're not like,
it goes to back. You were talking about market influence, market sensitivity.
yes,
There's essentially several factors
yeah,
that really come into play in that situation. One of which is demographics.
yeah,
And everybody knows demographics includes gender, race, education, earning ability. In other words, what's the per capita home income? Those types of things.
yeah.
So when you're looking at a property, that's one of the things that you should also pay attention to. And there's a multiple number of locations where you can pull demographics for an area. Oftentimes the cities will have the starts of it. If they don't, there's other services that do. But demographics play a big part of it. I'll give you a quick example.
Mm-hmm.
Suppose that that you want to come in and you want to put in a Lexus dealership.
Mm-hmm.
Would you put in a Lexus dealership in an area where the average per capita income was 40,000?
or 40,000, yeah.
No, of course you wouldn't. So that's one area where demographics come in.
But like in my situation, the funny thing is like we're talking, okay, if there's a school, then we're gonna be able to rent easily, and the value will went up because the school, everybody like to live around the school, right?
Right.
But it's a bad choice because really those high school, they even come and then they trust the place.
Mm-hmm.
They see like a big yard, and then they hide. They like don't go to school. They just sneak out, and then they found the place and they party, and they just come to the place that they're empty.
I got you.
So it's
So there really wasn't anybody there that was responsible at the home.
Right, exactly. So then that's why, depend on that. That's you can bring up a lot of good things for people to pick and choose.
Yep. You talk going back just a second for demographics. I've owned rental property in Tempe, Arizona State University.
Right.
I had Arizona State University students who rented property from me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm inclined to rent to a 4-year university that has dormitories more than I would to a community college because
or high school.
Well, and even at a community college, they may drive a distance, but generally speaking, they're not staying there.
Right.
And so
they want to save money.
but they're usually driving for a certain distance and they're staying home.
Right.
And so most of the community colleges are not set up with dorms.
Exactly.
And so that's not even an option where you're going to have people who are wanting to live close to campus.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
In addition to demographics, another thing that drives the market, and everything is sensitive to it, we're experiencing it right now, and that's interest rates.
Mm-hmm.
We were very fortunate for a few years. We practically had 0% from the Fed, and interest rates were historically low.
Yeah. Wow.
People were buying homes. A $400,000 home when the interest rate was down around 3%.
Wow. Yeah, very
Versus
low,
where it is now,
3-4%.
it's touched almost to 8% or more, depending on what your credit score is. That the difference between those two interest rates on the same home is an additional $1,400 a month. In a lot of cases, it was too much and people couldn't afford to buy that home. So in essence, what it did is where they could have, at one time, they could have afforded to buy a $400,000 home. Now they're buying a home that's probably $350,000 or less. And so it's eroded their buying power. That is a severe market condition. Now, we've seen the Fed the last few months, they have not done any interest rate increases. It looks like this past December that inflation crept up 0.3%. So there is speculation that they may hold another quarter just to see if there is going to be continued inflation increases. So they may not do any type of increase for a while. There are a lot of folks who are hoping that the inflation rate will continue to diminish, in which case then they'll start lowering the interest rates. I know some of the folks that are the watchers of the Fed, and they watch where mortgage rates are. They perhaps a little overly optimistic. We're predicting that in the spring we'd start seeing it drop down below 7%.
Wow.
I don't know where it's going to end up. I know some people are saying that at 5 and 5.5%, that will bring all the buyers right back. That seems to be kind of the magic number.
Wow.
But the way things are going, at least here this first few weeks of the month, I anticipate that if it's going to go lower, that much lower, it's probably going to be a little bit later in the year than what some of these folks are anticipating. But once again, interest rates will drive the market.
Yeah, that's true.
Another thing that's very important is what's the economy of the area. Remember when I was talking location? Here you've got the Phoenix area. We're going through an unprecedented amount of growth. I've lived in the valley here for over 40 years. I have never seen the amount of commercial construction going on. I drive down the road, I see signs on buildings, and they're going, we're hiring. I drive down the road and I see an electrician's truck, or I'll see a plumber's truck. We're hiring. They're looking for apprentices to bring on and train. There is so much work out there. I talked to some of my other clients, and they go, I can't get hold of anybody because those contractors are so busy. And they don't have enough time to get out there. So there's jobs galore. But it's not just in construction. It's also in things like high tech. It used to be that Arizona was known for the 5 C's: copper, citrus, climate, and tourism. So the commerce from tourism. But those types of things were what drove the state. Now, and this will take us into one of my other subjects, but about 15 or 20 years ago, the state made a decided change on what types of businesses that they would attract. So now what you're seeing is the growth of our freeways. We're pretty well wired in with a lot of new freeways and freeways in good condition. But one of the things that makes us attractive is we have a good degree of land. We had a lot of planning on the part of the government as far as where the roadways would go, how the infrastructure would flow, where the water would go. And I know we've talked about water in the past. So all of those different types of things in the government oversight. Then the government started looking, and when I say government, I'm primarily talking MAG, which is Maricopa Area of Government. It's a bunch of different cities, including the county of Maricopa. And so they wanted the synergy of all those cities to bring business into the metropolitan area. At the same time, the state was doing things, and some of the counties and different cities did their own thing. But there were always ways where they were looking to influence building to come down. One of the newest ones, and it's here in the East Valley, is LG Batteries. And Queen Creek has done a lot. They're already adding a $94 million infrastructure to bring utilities to the LG campus site where they're going to build I believe it's a $2.7 billion factory for batteries and probably employ better than 2,300 people.
Wow.
But it's that type of growth. Over on the west side of town along I-17, if you haven't driven out there north of the 101, if you do, look off to your left as you're driving north, and you're going to see that they're building a huge site for Taiwan semiconductors. So Taiwan is looking at bringing their infrastructure for their semiconductor business to Phoenix. And because we've got things that are going on where now we're becoming more and more of a center for high tech, it brings other businesses who they support them, suppliers, those types of things. So that's where the economy comes in, but it's also kind of plays off of how the government helps to bring those in. You know, a long time ago, I worked in the city of Tempe, and Mill Avenue was not the nicest place at the time. Over the years, Mill Avenue Merchants Association and city government partnered up, and they cleaned up the downtown area, turned it more into nightclubs and nice offices and good retail, higher-end retail businesses. So it wasn't just the kind of stuff that you would have just off of a campus, a college campus. It was things that would bring in other people, other professionals, families, all types of people to the downtown area, which once again, it changes the type of properties you have down there.
That's true.
And at the same time, it brings money into the cities. So what you want to do is you want to be able to look at cities that are forward thinking enough to be able to bring in people and make their city more valuable.
Live there. They want to stay there.
Exactly right.
The more people stay, the better of everything else. You know, the job, we have people, because like if there are a lot of people asking people to offer job, but nobody apply for job, then who's gonna, so.
And, you know, I gave you some examples about how things are doing well here. Take it for a moment and you think about some of the areas that we just talked about. Would you want to buy a home with the intention of renting it and trying to build your personal wealth in an area where you knew that they had a legacy type of industry that was going away? Imagine that it was steel mills or perhaps coal mining. Not good areas to invest in. So you're gonna want to invest in areas where there is a lot of positive.
Yeah, right.
A lot of opportunity for
like
growth.
The future, like grow. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. See, like somehow grow meaning like, I mean, like I see a lot of new building built, but they never finish. They just build, they just open, and then that's it. You know, so then, but I very, you know, like I think like sometimes we look back and we think to ourselves like we have a lot of chance to make profit. You know,
right?
Because when I first came, I know that Mesa North. Right now is so good. At the time, it's just an empty land, and people were signing up to buy a lot, and it's only like about 100 something for a house. You know, 172,000 something like, and it's next to the school. You know, next to the school, charter school, which is very good. And at the time I go, oh well, but I don't know if this area I didn't know much, you know, and it's so empty, a lot of empty land surrounding, and it's only the school there, and the school, even though they say it's very good name and very good school, but we don't know how well it's going to be, you know, so it's just hesitating right there, and so that's why I lost my chance, you know. Right now, oh boy, we're talking about
I will bet you anything that school, they did their research and they found a good piece of land they could buy fairly inexpensively.
Right.
And they knew that if they built there, that other people were going to be building there. You can go to, every city has what they call the general plan.
Yeah.
And if you go on the city's website, most all of them will have maps and they'll show the zoning. It'll show you what the city wants to go into particular areas.
Yeah. I think it's very good.
And so if you take a look at that and you take a look at the planning and zoning, you can find out pretty quickly where the next stage of development is going to go.
Right. Yeah, because they really they did their homework, just like McDonald's.
Yes.
You know, like sometimes they did their homework, and wherever they build some, that is really a busy place.
Well, all of the big stores, you think of Home Depot.
Yes.
The Home Depots just don't get thrown out there willy-nilly. I believe a few years ago, Home Depot's had a requirement that every store had to be able to produce about $1 million of retail business a week.
Oh.
Well, if you put the stores too close together, they're going to pull from each other. If you spread them out too far, you may have some stuff where people are not properly served. Or you may get into an area because, as you know, we've got things like Indian reservations, we've got mountains, and we've got state trust land where it's vacant desert. You don't want to be in a corner where you don't have 360 degrees of being able to pull people in. So they use demographics. They use the same types of studies. It's granted it's more in depth, but they're applying it to their business. So, you know, once again, we were talking about they're following their plan. And so they're out there doing the thing just at a larger scale.
I have to say, yeah, that's true. So that's why it's just like investment require knowledge, number one. Of course, luck a little bit in there because somehow, you know, like you bought like very good, just like me, like I bought very good at the time and everything, but like it's turned go shower after you done, you know, but sometimes it's the other way around. So it's really depend on what we really think. Like for me right now, I was thinking if I want to buy something, then what I'm going to use that for. You know, I'm going to think about that first.
Yep.
And then what if I cannot rent it, then what I'm going to use it for. You know?
Correct.
So that's what that. And I think like everybody else too, they with the market that effect or anything surrounding that will affect the value of it that like tremendously. Somehow when of course, like we always thinking like, oh, if we make profit, we want to make more profit. You know, like if you earn like 100,000, you say no, maybe I can earn some more. You know, and it's just waiting and then turn more. But if you're waiting for quite enough, you know, just like that house that I told you that we bought brand new, right? And then like if we waited too long, then we're thinking, oh, the value is never went up. So if there's a chance to sell, just sell it so we can get the money and invest somewhere else.
Well, I'd make two comments about that.
Okay.
Number one is Warren Buffett has always said it's never a bad idea to take a profit.
Right. So anything would do it.
Number two is that if you take a look at the things, the same type of due diligence that you did when you bought the property, you can do due diligence when you're getting ready to sell it.
Right.
What's the long-term potential for this area?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing because sometimes like ignorant. That's another thing. You know, like you would say, oh, okay, if somebody come in and say, oh, I can sell it, I can buy this, and then you think, oh, all these years there's I want to sell it, but nobody. So now this guy want to buy it, so we sell it. We just think that way. We didn't think like after we sell it, then it went up. You know, went all the way up.
That's correct.
So whoever the guy that did very good homework and see that they pay. Usually when we make money when we buy low price, right? We don't.
Well,
we don't.
Generally, that's how everybody looks at it. But sometimes, remember what I was saying before about sometimes it appears to be a bargain, and it's not because it may not ever have the potential to accumulate value.
Yeah.
And so that's what you really want to pay attention to.
Right. Yeah. So I think like So then if there's a lot of things like beginning of the year, I know like we're gonna scatter different topic so that we can share with our audience because it's something we look at it just like you said, a piece of property or look very nice. I mean everything like oh great, look at outside and everything, but never know anything inside. Just like we can see outside, we really cannot see if something deeply inside. So that's require somebody with the knowledge, or even we have to learn ourselves, you know.
And, you know, it's kind of funny, but here,
Yeah.
I've been doing this for going on 18 years. And I see the sophistication in which they're doing inspections now.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have a home inspector come out and he'd check a number of things, and he had a list, and it was state approved and it was required. But now with drones, cameras that you can put down into sewer pipes and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
The sophistication and the degree of due diligence that you can do is better every year.
Yeah. So that they offer wider knowledge, you know, wider.
Exactly right.
So that we can, if we want to do more, we pay money, we get that. But a lot of people was thinking like, oh, if they pay a lot money and then they find out that they couldn't, like it's not what they want, then they lost all that money.
Well, I look at it this way.
Yeah.
It's better to lose a little bit of money on that inspection than like I was saying, like I was saying before about the house that you didn't do a well enough inspection.
Yes.
Now you're spending not only the $40,000 you were going to put onto all the nice looking stuff, but you've got to fix that foundation and plumbing.
Yeah. Just like the house is, I mean the property has like a fourplex zoning, right? And at that time there's only have one house in the middle. So we're thinking, oh, okay, if we buy that house and we can have a contractor build another to become a fourplex. Yeah. But turn out we don't do enough due diligence, and then turn out like we cannot build that way, because that's the whole reason why they sell it, and they only build one house in the middle instead of do the things.
Yeah,
because some underneath, with the water line, it's not accepted. Yeah.
So that's exactly
it. It's zoned for.
Yeah. Do your due diligence, because they may have caused a problem with where they built the house.
Right.
That they may not be out. They may be right at the edge of the building envelope, so there's no more room.
Yeah. So the city not approve. Yeah, they don't approve, that cannot build it.
Exactly right.
Yeah. So a lot of opportunity, a lot of stuff out there, but it's require our knowledge and also the help of a good agent, a good understanding, real estate agent that you have to pick and choose. And when you talk, and you can feel like, okay, this person is really have a wide knowledge, no more than you. Beside you ask question, but that person can also bring out something different, like you never thought of it. Yeah. So those are the agent that you want to look for. And of course, I think the scalper, like one of the people like that. So we say whoever wanna invest in the real estate and need an agent that have a wide knowledge, then come to Mr. Scott Bartlowe.
Thank you.
So I think like we are gonna be out. Yeah. You wanna say something so we can,
one last thing. As far as accumulating knowledge, I know as a realtor, I have requirements, so I am continually increasing my knowledge. But where does somebody that's starting off in the business? Because I know a lot of the knowledge that I get, it's put on by my association, National Association of Realtors, those types of things. But here in Arizona, we have the Arizona Real Estate Investors Association. And that is a group of people who are just everyday people. Some of them are realtors, some of them are lenders. But they have classes, they have opportunities, so that anybody starting off at any level can go in and start to learn the basics themselves.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Is that like you say anywhere, or you say a location?
They've got two chapters, one here in the Phoenix metro area, one in the Tucson area. And some of the things they do, they're online, like Zoom classes and so forth. But they do a lot of seminars on the weekends, those types of things. And over my career as a realtor, I've also been a member of the Arizona Arizona Real Estate Investors Association.
Oh, okay. Real estate investor. Is there a fee to join?
$150
a year.
Yeah.
Or okay.
Yep.
Oh, okay. And then they just provide all the tour and all the
And
resources.
you can pick and choose. It's like a smorgasbord. So if you want to know something about land, or if you want to know something about tax liens, they have the classes available from.
Wow. Yeah. That's really nice, because if we want to know, we want to do something, of course we have to know a little bit. We gotta,
exactly
we
right.
cannot jump in and we want to make money, but we ended up we lose our money.
Oh, that's true too.
Yeah. So I think like we provide a little bit of how to avoid, all those mistakes that the investor might see. We can find a way to avoid it, so they can make a good choice of getting a property. I think like down the line we have another topic where we're gonna discuss about tax issue later on. But like I hope, like like sometimes like Scott and I we talk, but for the new year, for the resolution, is like we try to get people involved. Like if anybody wanna call in during our conversation or ask anything, then they can do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because sometimes we don't know what to what's the situation out there. Somehow. So whatever that we provide is just what we think that this is good for the investor. This is good for the beginner. This is good for the property. Things like that. But like if the person have anything, then that's more accurate. If you ask me.
And you can send that information through
text,
Facebook. You can send. You've seen my phone number and my email address. We can put that up, and feel free to give me a call, text me, email me. And we'll be sure to answer any of those questions and bring them up, because I can guarantee you, if you're thinking about those questions, there's probably other folks out there also that are thinking about those questions.
Right, that's true. So maybe you can repeat your phone number.
My phone number is 480-213-7691, and just call and I'll pick up.
One number. Just remember the one phone number.
There you go.
And then easy to reach him. And Scott's really good in returning phone call, or even like if you see he's busy, you can text him. You can text any question, and then when he come to the talk show, he can discuss about it. He can talk more, so that we all learn from the problem, for the issue, or we can be better, because we want everybody make some profit.
Absolutely.
For the new year.
Want to see everybody make money.
Money, yes. And thank you so much for watching us, VAATV, Real Estate Investment with Scott Bartlowe and LinhVi. We wish all the best for you for the new year, a good investment, and we'll see you next time. Right? Bye.
Bye-bye.
LinhVi xin cảm ơn sự theo dõi của tất cả quý vị trong những giây phút vừa qua. Chương trình VAATV xin kính chào, tạm biệt và xin hẹn gặp lại quý vị vào lần phát hình kỳ tới. Mọi chi tiết về thông tin thương mại và bảo trợ, xin mời quý vị hãy liên lạc về địa chỉ email vaatelevision@gmail.com và số điện thoại là 480-289-9816, 480-289-9816, website vaatv.com và vaaznews.com. Xin kính chào.